fantastic team builders as well, as we get to take a look at the teams for those of you that might have missed them yesterday. I'm going to start off with Ryota's team. He's another one sticking with this Shadow Rider Calyrex, adding the Whimsicott, the male Indeedee, which is a nice little mix-up. His choice of Fire-type Intimidator, actually different, very refreshing to see the Arcanine, of course, a staple in the year that he won the World Championships in 2017. And a Mienshao for him, and of course, the Stack Attacker. So a very different team, a couple of really unique choices.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing this particular matchup. On Wolf's side, again, you've got that kind of nice sort of sun core where you've got the Cherrim with the Groudon, going to bring that sunshine to the field. And we saw that Zapdos has utility with Weather Ball as well to take advantage of the sun. Both the Incineroar and the Entei as well, with any of those Fire-type moves, can boost them up as well with the sun's power. And there's no Weather Wall for Wolf to contend with. I think the interesting thing for me is going to be which speed options we're going to see here. You can see there's two kind of Trick Room modes. You've got Stack Attacker and Dusclops. And we know that Groudon is also holding the Iron Ball as well. So it is going to prefer that kind of slower environment, whereas Ryota has got the option to go for the speedier side with Pokemon like the Whimsicott there, possibly able to set up a Tailwind.
I think with the way the format is built, with the team sheets being a little bit hidden as well, you know, it might take a game or so for Ryota to find out about how committed to the Trick Room Wolf can be with the Iron Ball. Obviously, he could just use it for the fling and the huge effects that it gives there. But, you know, if Ryota can figure that out in game one and get through it, he's going to be in a really good position for game number 2 when that rolls around. So it's sure to be a really good set. I think both teams are super exciting. We saw Cherrim a little bit yesterday, didn't get to put in some work, but there's still a lot of games to play, and I hope we get to see a little bit more of that.
Well, let's jump into game 1 and see exactly what the leads are going to be from both of these trainers. I'm looking forward to seeing the information game that's going to go on in a closed team format here, as Wolf goes for the Entei and the Groudon coming out onto the field here, as Mienshao and the Indeedee are out on the battlefield for Ryota.
Very different leads, I think, from both trainers, you know, being able to have this restricted along with a very good kind of partner to go with it that just takes advantage of the uncontested weather. But then, of course, Mienshao could try and slow things down, try and weave in some fake outs. And this is actually quite an offensive choice to have on the male Indeedee, so should be able to try and cause some problems there. And it might just be all about the damage for Ryota on this turn, because that's the best option. Just try and pick up knockouts where you can.
Yeah, and we saw yesterday where the choice scarves fall on both of these teams. Entei having it for Wolf's side and the Indeedee having it for Ryota, and it's going to come down to see which Pokemon is trained and whether we're maybe going to see, you know, the trick variant coming out again from this opposing Indeedee. Cherrim, however, is going to join the field as a switch for Wolf, going to be able to activate that Flower Gift ability and look very, very happy to be here in the Invitational. It's just going to be an expanding force, though, from that Indeedee moving first before the Entei here. Going to be able to do a good chunk of damage, but Sacred Fire going to be able to come back and pick up a solid KO against it. Ryota losing that Indeedee very, very early on in this game, as the Mienshao is able to go for the close combat to the double down into the Entei. Both of the choice scarf variant Pokemon in this match have been eliminated in turn 1.
Such as the downside of Choice Scarf, it giveth the speed, but it taketh away the ability to protect. And both of them kind of getting caught a little bit on that. I think both maybe knowing or suspecting the Choice Scarfs were there, just really going after that slot. I mean, obviously it took Ryota 2 moves to get there, but kind of the same effect at the end. And with that Choice Scarf removed, that does mean that this could be a really, really good position for the Shadow Rider Calyrex. There's not going to be much faster on it than it available on Wolf's team. So could just be one of those games where, you know, now this is in, Ryota can just start putting down as much damage as possible. And I think the Shadow Rider Calyrex is being asked this turn to show what it can do. I mean, it's not like the Cherrim got in safely.
No, it certainly didn't. But I think if you're Ryota, you're going to want to try and deal with this Cherrim as quickly as possible. With the Flower Gift ability, it's going to be helping out that Groudon, giving it an attack and special defense boost as well. And if you are that Calyrex, you are a special attacker, you want to be dealing as much damage as possible. Cherrim just going to go for a Protect here, knowing that it wants to stick around joyfully and help out its partner Groudon. So where has Ryota targeted down? Looks like this is the Astral Barrage, or no, the Expanding Force, going into that Groudon, boosted up by the terrain, does a huge, huge chunk of damage, despite the protective measures from that Cherrim, followed up by the close combat. It is going to be enough to pick up a KO, and just as quickly as it joined the field, Wolf is losing his restricted Pokemon.
2 turns, 2 expanding force close combat combo knockouts. This is a really kind of straightforward game plan for Ryota. Just pick what you want to get rid of, catch the other Pokemon if available with the expanding force, and then just keep going. The Incineroar comes to the field, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late. Yes, it can, of course, take those you know, expanding force is a whole lot better. Mienshao not even getting intimidated, though, should just be able to deal with the close combat.
Yeah, exactly. It does put Wolfe really on the back foot here. And bringing in the Incineroar, yes, it can deal with a few things, but Ryota has so much switchability potential here. You can, you know, bring the Mienshao back in later on. You can apply lots of good pressure. And again, that Calyrex just going to be able to go for some big damage. So not surprised to see the forfeit coming in here from Wolfe. Possibly doesn't want to reveal the potential bulk of that Incineroar as well. You know, doesn't want to take a row close combat from that Mienshao and just wants to keep that a little bit secret going into game 2.
Yeah, that's a tough one for Wolfe. I mean, really didn't get a foothold in the game, launched one attack all game in that Sacred Fire, and I think you need to get a lot more than that down throughout the course of the game. So Wolfe just throwing in the towel early, maybe just going back to the drawing board to get ready for game number 2, because that one was a little bit disastrous.
Yeah, possibly the Scarf and DD as well. You know, being able just to get that damage down onto Entei before the close combat follow-up might have surprised Wolfe a little bit. But I think the one thing that really shocks me about closed team cheats, and the thing I'm worried about after seeing it yesterday, is Wolfe may not be aware about the trick shenanigans that can go down with that in DD. And that, again, if Wolfe wants to maybe come into game 2 and hard commit to the trick room, getting a choice Scarf is certainly not what you want.
No, he's going to have to be careful of that. And I think Wolfe maybe just respecting that the Trick Room's something that Ryota is very well aware of, because he has the Stack Attacker as an option on his team. So just leaving that at home, being very respectful of that. Maybe something he has to think about, though, and try and work in for game number 2, because the speed there, once the Indeedee are taken down, or the Indeedee and Mienshao are taken down the Entei, then, you know, it was able to just kind of run away with the game. There was nothing that could keep up the Shadow Rider Calyrex, and Mienshao was a very fast, very powerful duo that wasn't easy to slow down. You know, you can't fake it out, you can't intimidate it. Yeah, the Mienshao actually really impactful here.
Yeah, certainly it kind of puts a stop to a lot of the plans that Wolfe has against it, like you said there, with, you know, fake out and intimidate against those physical attackers. Mienshao kind of laughs in the face of those. So Wolfe does need to find a way to be able to work around that Pokemon. So I say let's jump into game 2 and see exactly how he's going to be able to adjust after that very quick game 1. But it is, of course, the Invitational. These players are very used to adapting in difficult situations. And we're going to see Entei and the Dusclops, one of my favorite Pokemon, coming out for Wolfe here. However, Ryota is going to go for the Indeedee and the Mienshao once again.
That same lead, it worked so well the last time. I don't see any reason to change it up, but you now have to be a little bit more considerate of the fact that there is a Dusclops on the field that is a little bit harder to deal with. I see exactly what Ryota's gone for there, just getting ready to make that Dusclops life a little bit harder, which is a really nice little bit of tech available, and definitely something I think you can throw out as a surprise with the closed team sheet format. So really nicely done there, and we'll see how much impact it has over the rest of this game.
I mean, that's the thing. Ryota doesn't really have a way to stop Trick Room necessarily, but certainly has a way to make it very inconvenient if it gets set up. We saw that the Indeedee was faster than Entei in game 1, so it's going to do a little magic trick and present Dusclops with a very fashionable choice Scarf. Give itself a little Eevee light, but this is certainly a situation Dusclops doesn't normally see itself in. Taking down the Focus Sash with the Sacred Fire into that Mienshao, you know, leaving its Focus Sash broken in quite a vulnerable position from any damage coming out from a following turn. The close combat coming out, not going to be able to pick up the KO against Entei this time without that sort of double up that we got from the expanding force previously, and Trick Room is going to go up. So in contrast to game 1, no KOs in this sort of turn 1, but certainly Wolfe in a little bit of a predicament here. You know, the Indeedee doesn't have the Choice Scarf anymore in Trick Room. It's going to be, again, moving faster against the Entei.
It's going to be doing really well there. And this Dusclops is basically forced to switch out, lest it wants to just reset the Trick Room again, you know, and see how that one works for him. So really tough situation for Wolfe to be in. This Dusclops definitely getting some problems caused against it. And, you know, if that switch out can be capitalized on, that could be really dangerous. Of course, the Mienshao is going to be moving before the Entei and Trick Room as well, just because it, you know, it's naturally not going to be able to outspeed it with the Choice Scarf. So this Entei's in danger as well, and this maybe a really tough turn for Wolfe as he's forced to switch around. And if you're forced to switch around that much, doesn't matter what turn order things are going in, there's just going to be damage getting thrown down from Ryota's side of the field.
Yeah, I see the Dusclops having to leave the field here, otherwise it's just going to be forced to reset that Trick Room, and it really isn't a threat to Ryota here at all. So Ryota does get the option to either really target down that Entei or try and call a switch here. It looks like it's the expanding force coming out from that Indeedee, of course not going to affect the dark type of the Incineroar, but we know it's going to be enough when stacked up with that previous close combat to pick up the KO against the Entei, and this leaves Mienshao free to go for that close combat into Incineroar and pick up the solid KO against it. Really nice play there by Ryota. We actually saw him target down that close combat into the Entei, possibly in case that Pokemon switched in for the Incineroar there, or also just to make sure that you pick up the KO against Entei if Expanding Pulse wasn't quite enough. But what an amazing double knockout here. And now Wolfe going to be forced to bring that Dusclops with the Choice Scarf, you know, never really seen this before in a Trick Room environment, onto the field, paired up with the Groudon.
Well, I think this is going to be a learning experience for us both, Lou, because I've never seen a Choice Scarf Dusclops try and play the game. And importantly as well, I mean, even with the Trick Room set up, that Dusclops doesn't have the Eviolite, and I'd love to actually finally run the numbers and see how, you know, how it can be taken down without the Eviolite in play. So a lot more options to get through it. Of course, you do have to be a little bit respectful of the Groudon, but we've not even seen Ryota's back pairing yet, so could just be trying to take it down very, very quickly. That way, you know, the Indeedee not going to get to use the Eviolite for anything, but it's better that it's on the Indeedee than it is potentially on something like the Dusclops, from Ryota's point of view, at least.
Yeah, I was going to say as well with the Groudon, although it does like to be in Trick Room, relatively speaking, you have to be careful of the wide guard potential on the Mienshao if you want to go for any of those Precipice Blades. But Mienshao can actually leave the field, and we're going to see a Blast from the Past Intimidate setter with the Arcanine joining the field. It's going to take the Nightshade, which is the move that Dusclops has now locked into, and Groudon actually going to go for the Heat Crash here, you know, fearing the potential wide guard, going to be able to pick up the Solid KO against that Indeedee, remove it from the field. And I think the one thing that's nice about the Arcanine coming in as well is it gets to throw down and Intimidate against that Groudon.
Yeah, that Groudon's going to struggle a little bit to keep going in this game, and a lot of kind of switching around here. Just, I think Wolfe definitely getting back into the game a little bit more, especially compared to last game, but it still looks pretty bleak. I mean, even with the Choice Scarf, you know, you're locked into Nightshade, and that Nightshade is only going to be able to do a little bit every single turn. The Groudon then probably forced to try and get attacks down with Precipice Blades so it can start hitting both at the same time, and then that becomes, I think, really, really difficult to you know, you got to be relying on those hitting every single time as well. Of course, the Mienshao is still available on the 1 health from its Focus Sash. And, you know, even just sacrificing that to get another Intimidate down to really lock up that end game could be so easy for Ryota. We'll see if there's enough in the tank, though, for this Groudon and Dusclops combination to try and get there.
Well, it looks like it's happening exactly. You've called it there, Adam. The Mienshao's coming in, sacrificing itself so that Ryota has the option to bring in another Intimidate. Wolfe doesn't have the option to be able to switch out that Groudon, and it just helps protect that Calyrex a little bit later on into the game. Calyrex, however, wisely going for the Protect here, and Ryota does have one more turn of Trick Room to contend with, though. And so that Calyrex, you know, it's going to be speedier. It's not going to enjoy being in this Trick Room's environment. And I wonder if Ryota's maybe going to have some way of protecting it from a double up from that Dusclops and the Groudon.
That's the key, is you can't let it get hit twice. I mean, taking away a chunk of a limited health pool, you know, 50 health will be going away from that Calyrex. It doesn't leave all that much, really, for the Groudon to do. But the Groudon, of course, has been intimidated twice now, is a little bit weaker, so may be able to just cling on through that, depending on what attack the Groudon decides to go with. Certainly trying to help out a little bit there, and I think giving up the Mienshao, absolutely fine in the grand scheme of things. And the double protect!
Oh, he gets it. Gets the double protect here. Dusclops going for that Nightshade to no avail. Calyrex going to be thoroughly protected as this Trick Room ends. Groudon going for that Precipice Blades. It actually, it also avoids on the Arcanine. Not that it matters, but it just adds a little bit of insult to injury in this turn as the Flare Blitz comes out into Groudon, does a solid chunk of damage against it. And that was the double protect that Ryota desperately needed as Trick Room ends.
We were theorizing how could he get around this last turn of Trick Room. Could he take enough hits? Actually, it doesn't matter when you just land the double protect. It's not the greatest chance to hit any time, but you know, you get it when you need it. Absolutely fine. And this Calyrex in a position to just go and clean up this game. Look at how easy it is to take out the Dusclops without the Eviolite.
Oh, I know. Every time you face against a Dusclops, the bulk is normally one of the most frustrating things. That and Ally Switch when it likes to run it. But Ryota able to pick up a very clean KO here and take game 2, winning the set against Wolfe.